Hi everybody. Let's see. Looks like sounds good. Looks like video is good. Looks like we're good. Welcome to this week's AMA and device setup. I'm Tim with Ledger, and today I'm going to be showing you how to set up the Nano S Plus. I believe last week I did the Nano X, so trying to change it up a little bit. We do have a moderator in the chat who will be answering your questions. So if you did come here just to get your questions answered, drop them in the chat, and our moderator will do his best to get to all your questions. But the primary focus of today's video is going to be to show you all the setup process for the Nano, as well as answering some some useful as well as offering some additional useful information that can help you navigate when you are using your own device. So without further ado, let's just go ahead and get started with this. All right, so full disclosure, this is a Nano S Plus that has been set up in the past. You'll see it does not have the plastic wrapping on it. That's because we reuse them. That way we don't have to unbox a new Nano every time. But one cool thing about the Nanos is that you can actually just very easily factory reset them and use them again. So this could be very handy if like you have a friend or whatever that has an extra one that they're no longer using and they want to give it to you, or a situation kind of like that. And maybe you're wondering like, oh, factory reset it. And now this device is ready to accept a brand new recovery phrase, to generate a brand new recovery phrase, and be set up for a new user. So let's go ahead and get into it. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and unbox this. We're gonna take off this outer paper sleeve right here very carefully so I don't rip it. There we go. We got the box right here. Open that up. Actually, I'm gonna switch this other shot right here. That way I can kind of show you. Much easier. All right, so unboxing it, you have your Nano S Plus. We're gonna take that, set it to the side right here. You have your secret recovery sheets in this orange packet. If you've seen any of the other device setups, or if you have a Nano X or a Nano S, you may notice that it looks a little bit different. The recovery sheets are not in this orange envelope. They're actually in a different sleeve that have a different kind of recovery sheet. Let me show you what this recovery sheet looks like on this Nano S Plus. It comes with 3, but as you can see, there's only 1 left because we have set this Nano up many times. We are down to our last recovery sheet, and then you unfold it, and then here is where you will be writing down your recovery phrase. And we're going to get more. I'm gonna give you much more information on the recovery phrase and what it is and what we're doing when we get to that step. But for now, this is just showing you the stuff inside the box. So we're going to go ahead and put this down for now. Put it back inside this recovery sheet thing. That to the side. Take this off right here. And then this pink packet right here, you got some useful stuff. You've got how to get started with your Nano. It's basically going to tell you to go to the website and download Ledger Live and kind of guide you through that process. Here's some information about what you can expect to be able to do with your Ledger and Ledger Live. And then use, care, regulatory statement. This will tell you how to kind of care for your device. And then some stickers that are included when you buy a Nano. So I'm going to slip all this stuff back into the pink packet because we do not need it right now. I'm going to put that to the side. And then I'm going to, last thing, I'm going to pull this little packet out, this last little one. And then inside here, you have your cable. This is your charging cable for your Nano S Plus. I'm going to go ahead and slip that also back into here because we actually have another cable already set up and attached to the computer right here that I will be using. Put that back in. Let's reassemble this box real quick. Put that in, put that in, put that in. We're going to take this recovery sheet out right here. I'm going to set that down. We're going to need that. And I'm just going to put this back in. Now I'm going to put this whole thing to the side. Okay. So, very first thing that you do whenever you get a new device, a new electronic device, is you are going to want to power it on to take a look. So if you do read through the getting started with Ledger, it's going to tell you to go to ledger.com/start and install Ledger Live, which we are going to be doing here in a minute. You can see I actually already have Ledger Live pulled up on the screen. So I did already install Ledger Live, but after you install it, it will look just like it does on the screen right there. So I'm going to go ahead and plug in the Nano. hold it up a little bit so you can see much better. All right, so it says, welcome to Ledger Nano S Plus. Press the right button to continue. So I'm going to go ahead and flip this over right here. Also, if you do have another device, Nano X, Nano S, the setup process is pretty much exactly the same for all of them. The only thing that's going to change when setting up a Ledger device is the physical layout of where the buttons are and kind of how the device looks. But otherwise, they're almost identical. There's going to be some other differences, like later on when accessing like the settings menu and stuff. But for the most part, it's very similar, and the actual setup process is identical, except for, of course, like the recovery sheet might look different, but the process. All right, so to scroll right, so you see I plugged in here the power port. It's going to be the left side. You see where the writing is. So you have your left button and your right button. The right button will scroll to the right, and then you see I scrolled to the right, and the left button will scroll to the left. So right here, one click to the right, it's telling us to download Ledger Live at ledger.com/start. I'm going to set this down. I'm just going to show you what that looks like. Let me drag over a Chrome tab over here. So we're going to go to ledger.com, oh, not comacom.com/start. And then, so right here, it's gonna, you have your download. So this is where you want to go to download Ledger Live. Obviously, we don't need to do that. We already have Ledger Live installed, but you would just download it, select your operating system, and go from there. Let's exit out of here. So we have Ledger Live installed. So let's go ahead. Normally, I will go through the setup process. I really like to, let me switch back to the main shot real quick. So I really like to go through the setup process on the Nano without using Ledger Live first. It's kind of like a little like quirk with my videos. If you've seen any of my previous videos of setup for the Nanos, and I do that for a very specific reason. I do that because I like to show users that you don't have to be connected to the internet at all to set up a Nano, to set up your accounts, or you do have to set up your accounts, but not to set up your recovery phrase, which is the most important part. So you can actually plug in any of the Nanos straight to a power cord into a wall outlet. Or if you have a Nano X that has a battery in it, you can charge it up, make sure it's got enough battery to go through the setup process, and you can set it up completely offline. You don't have to be connected to the internet at all to do this. These devices are capable of randomly generating a recovery phrase completely offline, totally air-gapped from the internet, so there's no possible way at all it can be leaked. Now, it is perfectly safe to also set up your Nano while plugged into your computer. I mean, they're designed by very smart people to not allow information to be leaked in that way. Like you can't hack into a Nano even if it's connected to a computer. On that same line, your Nano will never leak your private keys or your recovery phrase. So it is perfectly safe. But some people just like the peace of mind. Like look, like I get that, Ledger, that thank you for reassuring me on that. However, I've seen a lot of stuff happen in the space, and I'm not fully comfortable with this. Well, this is your option. You can just plug it right into a wall outlet, generate it offline, and then you can be sure that your recovery phrase was never shared with the internet. But in this case, I do have this cord attached to my computer right now, and we are going to go through the normal setup process using Ledger Live as our guide. So I'm going to go ahead and set this Nano back down, and I'm going to switch back. All right. So download Ledger Live, done. We got it on the screen. Let's scroll once more to the right. This is going to tell us how to navigate with the Nano. I already covered left and right, which is pretty intuitive, but this is the part that's maybe not quite as intuitive and trips up some new users. To make a selection, you have to quickly tap both buttons at the same time. So it says press both buttons to select. Now that can be not misleading. It can just be a little bit like just a little unclear, because some people are like, oh, well, watch what happens if I press and hold both buttons. Well, that's not going to work here. But so holding both buttons at any time accesses the settings menu. So what a lot of people will do, the issue they have is they'll try to make a selection by tapping both buttons, but instead they hold both buttons down and then they get taken to the settings menu. So you want to make sure that you don't hold both buttons down, that you quickly tap both buttons to make a selection. All right, so start Ledger Live. We got that going. And then now we have these two options. However, let's go to Ledger Live before we get there. And let's see what Ledger Live tells us to do. All right, so we're going to go get started. We already have a device. We don't need to buy one. Okay. We can choose our device. Let's see. We have a Nano S Plus right here. That's what we want to set up. So we're going to go ahead and select that. So right now you have two options. You have first time using your S Plus or already have a recovery phrase. Now, if your Ledger Live gets reset, or if you were to want to add your accounts into Ledger Live on another computer and you just installed the application and your device is already set up, you can choose this option and bypass everything we're about to go through, connect your device, and add your accounts right in. But for today, because we're setting it up, we want to set up a new Nano S Plus. Let's select that option. Okay. So basics 1 and 5, access your crypto. Your crypto assets are stored on the blockchain. This is giving a little bit of information on where your crypto is and what's going on with it. So you need a private key to access and manage them. We're going to go more into detail on what all of this means here in a little bit. Continue. Own your private key. Your private key is stored within your Nano. You must be the only one to own it to be in control of your money. This is very, very important. So we're about to set up the recovery phrase on this, and your recovery phrase is actually your master private key for all of your accounts. So when you see the term private key, it's kind of synonymous with your recovery phrase. Now there may be some developers out here in the chat or watching this that are like not technically, Tim, and that's true, but for all intents and purposes, your 24-word recovery phrase is your master private key for all of your accounts, and that's really important to understand that. So let's go to next one, stay offline. So your Nano works as a cold storage wallet. This means that it never exposes your private keys online, even when using the app. So we talked about that earlier, but it can't be understated enough or overstated enough. Do not put your recovery phrase online. Do not take a picture of it. After you write it down on this sheet, you do not want to snap a picture of it and save it on your phone because that will expose it to the internet. You do not want to save your words anywhere where where a hacker could potentially get at it or where it can be leaked online. So a lot of people trust their password managers, and to be fair, they are very secure applications, but they're not foolproof. There's no possible way to guarantee the security of anything stored online. So you want to make sure to always keep your recovery phrase offline. And it's really the only way to guarantee that your assets can never be stolen from you, because if you put them online, then technically they will be vulnerable. We're gonna touch more about on that later, but for now, just keep that in mind. Okay. Validate transactions. Ledger Live allows you to buy, sell, manage, exchange, and earn crypto while remaining protected. You will validate every crypto transaction with your Nano. This is interesting right here. Let's go into a little bit more detail on this. Let me switch back here real quick. So this is the part where I like to explain about kind of like what Ledger Live is. Ledger Live, so we're going to go through this process to set up, maybe I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself actually, but let me touch on it a little bit since I already started. Ledger Live is not going to actually store any crypto. What this message is saying is that Ledger Live gives you a way to manage your crypto that exists on the blockchain, but it is not the custodian of your crypto. Ledger is not the custodian of your crypto. Your Nano is not the custodian of your crypto. Your crypto is just crypto. Crypto is just a transaction written into a blockchain that says that this wallet owns this many coins. There's nothing physical about it. It's just a shared ledger. Everyone agrees this wallet address owns these coins. And so the person that owns that wallet is the person that owns the private keys, the 24-word recovery phrase that was used to derive that account address. And so that's how you prove ownership. And then that's where your crypto actually stores. So Ledger Live is able to communicate with the blockchain, let you manage that. Your Nano is able to act as the key to let you sign transactions from that. We're going to touch more on that later, but hope I didn't confuse anybody too quick off the bat here. Let's switch back. I'm going to continue. Now let's set up our Nano. Let's do this. All right. So this is telling you some things you need. We are good. We've got our pen. We've got our Nano. We've got our recovery sheet. It says stay alone and choose a safe and quiet environment. That's really good advice. You don't want anybody to be able to see these words. If anyone is standing over your shoulder and copying these words down as you generate them, they will also be able to access your crypto. So you want to do this in a nice secluded place where only you're around. You and whoever else that you trust that you're setting up your nano with, like if you have like a spouse or something. Okay, I'm ready to do this. All right. So boom, 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 boom. Follow instructions. Next step. All right, cool. So this is basically just going to walk us through everything we're about to do. So I'm just going to go ahead and get started. Okay. So we have these two options here. We have set up as new device or restore from recovery phrase. So the only time you would choose restore from recovery phrase is if you were in a situation where maybe you already have a nano, already have a recovery phrase secured, and yet you want maybe you want to make a copy of your nano. Maybe you get married, or maybe you have a child, or a trusted loved one that you want to share your crypto accounts with, or maybe you just want a backup for your own accounts. Maybe you just want an extra nano in case something happens to this one. You can grab your second one. You'd want to restore from recovery phrase. So that'll let you import your existing recovery phrase into your nano, which will make it a exact copy of your whatever nano also has your recovery phrase. So think about it like your 24-word recovery phrase is your master private key, which should be kept ideally buried in a bunker underground where no one knows the exact location. That's extreme, obviously, but the idea is just to keep it completely hidden and untouchable. And then you can make copies of your key that can be used to sign transactions, but impossible to extract the key. So you can't extract a private key from a nano, but you can use it to sign transactions. So that's what you would want to use that. But in today's video, we're going to set up a new device, and we're going to generate a brand new 24-word recovery phrase. Let's choose that. First step, as you can also see on here, is to set your PIN code. It can be 4 to 8 digits in length. Obviously, the longer it is, the more secure it's going to be. Just for, an 8-digit PIN is harder to guess than a 4-digit PIN. However, there is a security feature that I talked about before with the Nano, and I'm going to set this PIN here to 1111 just to make it nice and easy. When you set up your own, you're definitely make it harder to guess than that. But for today's purpose, I'm just going to make it nice and simple. There will never be any crypto loaded into any accounts associated with this recovered phrase. Okay, we set our PIN. Okay, so I'm going to, on here, I'm going to click, I understand that I must choose my PIN code myself and keep it private. Obviously, I've violated that by live streaming that PIN code to you guys. But it's just for the demonstration. When you do it yourself, make sure you take this very serious. Okay. All right, we did that. Got a little ahead of Ledger Live here. All right, so right here, secure your PIN code. This is going to tell you a little bit about your PIN code and kind of some best practices to follow. We're going to go ahead and get started here. And now we're about to do the recovery phrase. So let me switch back real quick. So I like to go in right now and kind of explain, like, the PIN code has really nothing to do with your actual crypto accounts. Your PIN code, you'll never need your PIN code to access your crypto accounts outside of this specific nano. You can set up a new nano, import your recovery phrase, and have a completely different PIN to unlock that nano. Your PIN is just to unlock the nano. It's just to keep your nano itself secure, but your PIN, it has no association with your actual accounts. And that may be a little bit kind of crazy to think about, a little unclear, but hopefully by the end of this video, it'll kind of start making a little bit more sense. So let's switch back here. We got this step now. We are going to do the main step where we are generating and writing down our recovery phrase on this sheet. So rather than getting ahead, we'll follow along with Ledger Live. So I understand that if I lose this recovery phrase, I will not be able to access my crypto in case I lose access to my nano. I do understand that. And actually, man, keep switching back and forth here. This is just so important. This is the most important part of the process. So if you were to write down your recovery phrase and put it in a safe place, or maybe not in a not so safe place, maybe you forget where you put it. Let's say you lose your recovery phrase, you don't have it, but now your nano still has your recovery phrase in it after you set it up. Now let's say something happens to your nano. So for a while you're good. You have no recovery phrase. You know, you wouldn't be able to back up your accounts, but you're still able to sign transactions. So you're like, oh, I'm good. But then something happens to your Nano. It gets reset or it gets broken, stolen, lost. Now, the only way that you would ever be able to reaccess your accounts again is with the 24-word recovery phrase. And we get cases pretty regularly, not super often. It's not the most often like issue we have with recovery phrases. However, it does happen where people just lose their recovery phrase. I mean, life happens. You know, you move, you have it in a good place, you move, you misplace it. You know, maybe you have a house fire, maybe something happens, something horrible happens. Um, it's just really important to understand that nobody can help you if you lose your recovery phrase. This is the idea of self custody and cold storage means that full accountability is now on yourself as a person to maintain the security of your assets. If you share your recovery phrase with anybody, they can access your accounts, and there's no one you can really complain to. I mean, you can file a police report, and in some cases, maybe the police can help you, but ultimately, there's no guarantee that will happen. So make sure that you take this process very serious and make sure that you understand what you're doing when you do this. And if you do have any questions, like let's say you watch this video and you still have questions, reach out to us on our support page. We love helping new people who are just getting into the space. Just try to like understand and what self custody really means. But this is the meat and potatoes of it: is that your recovery phrase is your accounts, is your crypto. This is the key to your crypto, and anybody who has this can access your crypto, you or anybody else. So you don't want anybody to have this for any reason. Anyone ever asked you for it, they're trying to scam you, almost 100%. So just remember that, and it can be even as like someone asking you to import it into this Google document or into this secure application that they had you install on your computer. Never do that. Never, never, never do that, because that could very easily compromise your accounts. All right, getting off my soapbox. Let's get this thing set up. All right, we are writing down our recovery phrase. Your device is going to generate your 24-word recovery phrase. They are your recovery phrase. It's your only backup to restore your accounts if needed. We just talked about that. Write down your recovery sheet in the correct order. We're going to talk about that here in a minute. And then press both buttons to continue. So on Ledger Live, I understand that if I lose this phrase, I will not be able to access my crypto. Very clear. Okay. Take your recovery sheet, write down your words. Okay, that's what we're doing right now. So we are going to do that. So let's press both buttons to continue. Quick tap to select both buttons, and we immediately get our first word. So I'm going to hold this in a kind of awkward way. That way I can cycle through and write them down at the same time. So first word is mesh. Write that down nice and legibly. Legibly as I possibly can, my messy handwriting. So now look on this recovery sheet. I'm going to hold it up so it's maybe easier to see. So you see it's numbered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in that order. It's not 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and from top to bottom. So this could create a potential situation if you're not really paying attention to the order that the words are in. Right now, when you're setting it up, maybe a year from now, when your Nano resets or you upgrade and you get a newer device and you want to import your phrase into it. Let's say that I wrote down these words in this way, and a year from now I forget that I did that, and I see the numbers and I'm like, oh, okay, that's the correct order. And so I try to import my phrase in the wrong order. It will not give you access to your accounts. It's a completely different recovery phrase. At that point, they have to be the exact right words and in the exact right order. So definitely remember that when you're going through this process. Okay. Go to word number 2, which is unlock. Oof, my writing is especially messy today. All right. Cheese. Unable. Image. where expose, as in do not expose your recovery phrase to anybody. It's kind of a little bit of a tedious process, but bear with me while I go through this. It's kind of hard to multitask, not make a mistake during the process. That right there is a good example. I'm going to use this here in a minute, like that, so we can down these last couple words, and then I'll explain what I am babbling about. Okay, so the next step, after you write down your words, you're going to scroll once more to the right, and it's going to give you the option to scroll back to the left, and you can go back through, and you can verify all your words. You can verify that you wrote them down correctly in the right order. However, even if you do that, you'll tap both buttons to continue. It's still going to make you confirm your recovery phrase one word at a time. And that's just because this is so important. Like your device, us here, well, your device doesn't care, obviously, but us here at Ledger, we want to make sure that all of our users get their recovery phrase written down correctly to avoid any possibility of any permanent loss. Because honestly, if you mess up even a single word, it can be really hard to recover those accounts. Not impossible, and I'm going to show you some stuff here in a minute, and more about the recovery phrase to kind of clarify on that. But let's finish this process. Let's confirm our recovery phrase. All right. So this process, it's not that difficult. You don't have to actually type in your words. We've simplified it a little bit, but you do have to scroll until you find the right words. So it's going to give you some random words, and you just have to select the right one. So word number 1 is mesh. Find that. There we go. Word number 2 is unlock. There it is. Cheese. Unable. Image. Where. And so forth. Now I'm just going to rapid fire go through these as quick as I can. While still being careful, because I don't want to make any mistakes. If you make a mistake in this process, it won't tell you right away. It'll let you get all the way to the end, then it'll say invalid recovery phrase. So definitely make sure that you get this right. Okay, all right. So because it's saying your recovery phrase is set, keep it in a secure place, that means that we did it correctly. At this point, if even one word was entered incorrectly, then your device would say, oh, sorry, try again, and you'd have to start over from the beginning. So we're going to go right here. It's reiterating, if lost, stolen, or forgotten, all assets will be lost. Always remember that. This is extremely important, these words. Never share it with anyone. Ledger will never ask you for it. Press both buttons to continue. Now we're processing, and our device is ready. We got to check. So now at this point, we actually have to scroll to the right once and select the option to go to dashboard. That's another thing. If we were to unplug it right now, it may restart, and we may have to start over. So we want to make sure to go to dashboard. Then we're here on the dashboard. So for okay, so to go back real quick on what I was talking about, I'm going to take these 24 words now, And at this point, ideally, now that the device is set up, I would want to take these and put them directly into a safe or a lockbox or a safety deposit box, or whatever place that I feel is most comfortable for me in my current situation to store my assets. It's going to be different for everybody. Some people have banks that they trust and they want to use safety deposit box. Other people prefer to keep, or they have multiple copies spread out. There's no The only wrong answer on how to store your recovery phrase is it online at all? Do I have it saved as a photograph? Do I have it saved in a password manager application? Do I have it saved, in a sticky note on my desktop? Like, anything to do with your phrase being on a computer or mobile device that connects to the internet means that your recovery phrase could potentially be compromised. Now, if you are in this situation and you're like, oh shoot, I totally took a picture of my recovery phrase, I'm not trying to sound the alarm bells. I don't want you to think that you're immediately going to get hacked if you do that. Although that can happen, depending if your device is already compromised. But if you are in that situation and you think that maybe you did expose your recovery phrase to the internet, it's best to just take a step back, take a breath, and go through the steps to generate a new recovery phrase. And that's gonna and we can get more into that later. That's kind of like off the scope of this video. But the key takeaway is, if I say anything in this video that makes you, like, it triggers an alarm bell in your head, but you're not quite sure how to proceed, reach out to us and we'll be more than happy to walk you through whatever process is necessary to help you in your current situation. We'll do everything we can without ever requesting a recovery phrase. If you think you're reaching out to Ledger support and they request your recovery phrase in any way, you're not talking to Ledger support. All right, so I'm gonna take this recovery phrase and I'm gonna store it in a safe place, although I am gonna destroy it after this video and reset this nano and never use it. But for your own recovery phrase, safe place. All right, cool. Actually, no, I'm not. No, I'm actually gonna show you this real quick before I do that. All right, let's go back here to the big monitor. All right, so you saw I highlighted these two words right here, SOAP and SNAP. So the reason I highlighted those is because they look very similar to one another. See that SOAP and SNAP, and if yourself or me on a particularly bad day, anybody, if your writing is not very neat, you could very easily find yourself in a situation where you jot down, like SNAP, and you have it like all like that's like well, that's a little ridiculous. That's like probably more messy than anyone would ever write it. But let's say that you have it written down illegibly and maybe you think it's SOAP, but really it's SNAP. Another good example that I like to use is blue and blur, which an E and an R are very easy to confuse for one another when handwriting. And I'm showing you more what I mean by this. So all recovery phrases, every single recovery phrase that exists, are all pulled from the same list of 2048 total possible words. This list is known as the BIP 39 word list. Let me switch over here. Let's pull it up for you so you can see what I'm talking about. BIP 39. Oop. We want to go to GitHub. Oh wait, I don't want to go there. There we go. Okay, so I gave you that one example, blue and blur. SOAP and SNAP are going to be a little bit further. Well, these are all in alphabetical order, but this is the list of where all recovery phrases come from. So no matter how many times you generate a recovery phrase, you can come to this list on this GitHub, which is open source. It's available for everybody, and you can find each and every one of your words. Now, there's really no reason to be alarmed by this because your words are pulled at random, are generated at random. And so the chances of someone else guessing your words that were generated or even using like a supercomputer is so improbable that it is impossible. The total number of combinations it's ridiculous of how many different recovery phrases can be generated from this list of 2048 words. But let me show you to go more into detail what I was talking about. Let's say you were to get one word wrong. Like let's say, well, let's back up. Let's say your entire recovery phrase doesn't work. You go to import it into your Nano, and your recovery phrase, it just doesn't work. It doesn't. You cannot access your accounts. You can go into this list and you can Command F, and you can look up all the words. Here's the first word on the list: mesh. Okay, that is a word on the VIP 39 word list, so that's probably not the issue. Okay, unlock. I have that written down. Okay, now let's say that my third word was something not on the list, like watch. My hard with. Let's say my name's Tim. Let's say you write down your name, Tim. Well, Tim is not on the list, but time is. So maybe I meant time, or maybe I meant timber. And so you can troubleshoot your way sometimes if you have like one word incorrectly. Another thing you can do is, let's say you have one of your words is blue, then you can look up blue and be like, oh shoot, that didn't work. It is on the list, but it didn't work. Oh shoot, look at this. Blur is also on the list. Maybe I meant blur. And this, I hope this isn't like too confusing. I'm not trying to like throw too much technical knowledge at you. I'm just trying to like show that if you do have issues with your recovery phrase, it really is like on you to figure out what might have happened. And there are some tools that you can use to do that. But one tool you do not want to use is reaching out to someone for help on this who is asking you for your recovery phrase. It's okay to receive help from a trusted source on this, but you want to be very careful not to give up your private keys, your recovery phrase, if someone is assisting you with this, because once you do, then they can have access to your accounts. So let's go ahead and continue on. We're doing pretty good on time. So we're going to go back to this main shot right here, or no, there we go. And then my device went to sleep, so I'm going to go ahead and re-unlock it with my PIN. Oh, actually, this is a good time to show you the PIN device reset, which I talked about in the beginning when I talked about when I reset this actual device. So the PIN code for this one is 1111. We typed in 11. We'll do 1112. And then you'll see here, invalid PIN, 2 attempts left. So if I were to do the wrong PIN again 2 more times, and as you can see, if I unplug this, there's no way to reset that counter. If the wrong PIN is entered consecutively 3 times, this device will reset, and there's no possible way to stop that from happening. So if someone were to steal your device, they would be faced with this exact same situation where, oh shoot, I stole this Nano from this person who was talking about their crypto, and I'm going to steal their crypto, but I can't get into this device, and there's only 2 attempts left, and there's nothing I can do about it. Well, then it basically renders stealing the device obsolete unless that person also knows your PIN. So you do want to have a nice secure PIN, and you do want to keep that PIN in a safe place. But now on the flip side, let's say it is your Nano, and you do have access to your recovery phrase. You have that in your safe, but you forgot your PIN. It's been like 2 years since you plugged in your Nano, and you can't remember your darn PIN to unlock the device. Well, you can actually just go ahead and reset it. And then wrapping back to the beginning, those 2 options on the Nano, you would choose restore from recovery phrase after you factory reset your Nano, and then you'd be able to import your phrase back into your Nano and set up a new PIN, and you'd be just fine. You'd be able to access your accounts again. I'm not going to factory reset it because I don't want to go through that process. That's for a different video. That is a little bit more tedious. So we're going to go ahead and put in the correct PIN, which is 1111. And we're going to unlock it. And I'm also going to go into the settings menu real quick by holding both buttons down. That's what I did right there. In fact, let me exit out real quick to show you. This is what I was talking about before about going to the settings menu, the control panel, control center, is quickly tapping both buttons will select. So I quickly tap both buttons, and I was able to, on the install apps widget, and then it's telling me how to install apps. Likewise, if I were to go to this control center, this is also a point of confusion, and I double tap and I quickly tap right there, it's going to tell me how to get to the control center. But it won't actually take you to the control center. So you actually have to hold the buttons down. You want to go like this. And there we are. Now we're actually in the control center. Now we can lock the device, we can close the control center, or we can go in the settings menu. Plus, we're going to go there, go to security. I'm going to go to PIN lock. I'm gonna do no pin lock for now. That way it doesn't time out on us during this video. And I'm gonna go to no screensaver. Back. Now my device will remain unlocked as long as it's plugged in. For your own personal device, I do recommend not doing the turning off pin lock and screensaver, because if you do that and let's say you leave your Nano plugged into your computer and it's unlocked and there's no pin lock on it, and you walk away from your computer, well, anyone else who happens by to see that would then be able to sign a transaction from your Nano. So you definitely don't want to do that. But for this purpose, because I don't want to have to constantly enter in my PIN, I'm just going to turn it off for the rest of this video. Now let's go to Ledger Live. We did this. We wrote down our 24 words. We're going to go to next step. We confirmed our recovery phrase, and we're going to repeat that. We did that for all the words. Ooh, accidentally did that pretty quick, but that's okay. It's telling you to hide your recovery phrase somewhere safe, whatever that means for you. In your current situation, whether that means burying it in the ground, whether that means putting it in a safe, etching it in a steel plate, whatever makes the most sense for you and makes you feel the most comfortable, you should do that. Just remember, do not put it online. All right, we're done. And this is reiterating, where should I keep my recovery phrase? And this may seem like we're just like kind of beating this in like overkill, but it really, the word overkill cannot be applied to this situation, because you know, when you have to help people on a daily basis who lose their recovery phrase or who give it up to, you know, scammers because they're not as educated, they don't know how important it is. It's a really hard conversation to have, and we don't want any of our users to be in that situation. We want everyone to their assets to be safe and sound, and that's the mission of our company. So if it seems like we are beating you over the head with this, it's because it's something to be taken very serious. Never share your recovery phrase with anybody. All right, let's get started. Game on. We're not going to take the quiz. We're going to actually, why not? We have a little bit of extra time. Let's take the quiz. All right. As a Ledger user, my crypto is stored on my Nano or on the blockchain. Well, it's actually not on your Nano. Your crypto is only ever on the blockchain. We talked about that earlier. Okay, next question. If my recovery phrase is no longer secure or private, A, no problem, Ledger can send me a copy, or B, my crypto is no longer safe and I need to transfer them to a secure place. That is the correct answer. Ledger does not keep a copy. We do not keep a copy of your recovery phrase. It is generated offline on your Nano, and that's it. It's never shared with Ledger Live. It's never shared with your computer. Whether or not you have it plugged into your computer or not does not matter. This device it's not possible for this device to leak your recovery phrase onto a computer, even by accident. So your crypto, so if you were to lose your recovery phrase or it's no longer secure, you would want to immediately withdraw your crypto from any account that you created with your Nano to a safe place. At least until you can generate a new secure recovery phrase to move your crypto back. So maybe that would look like, oh shoot, move everything to so like one scenario, and I can give you like a personal story on a situation that I myself was in when I first got into crypto, first got into Ledger. I got a Nano, I generated my recovery phrase, and everything was good for a long time. But then I was having trouble connecting it to I won't name the wallet, but I was trying to. Some of you may be familiar, you can connect your Nano to a bunch of different wallets all across Web3 to do different things, to store different assets. So I was trying to connect my Nano to a web wallet to store some crypto that I had. And I couldn't get it to connect. I just kept running into issues. You know, I was a new user. I didn't know what was going on. I didn't reach out to Ledger support. Instead, I decided to import my recovery phrase into that web wallet to access my accounts, which is always an option. You can always import your recovery phrase, in most cases, into a web wallet or any other wallet to recover your assets. But doing that, I saved my recovery phrase into that web wallet, into the app data for that web wallet, and it exposed it to the internet. And I didn't even know. And I operated that way for like 6 months before I was watching some random YouTube video, and I'm like, oh shoot, I did that. Like I imported my recovery phrase. Oh wow. So at that point, what I had to do was I had to move all my crypto to an exchange, temporary safe storage location, and then reset my Nano, generate a new recovery phrase, safe, completely offline, not shared with the web wallet, and then I move my crypto back. So that would be like an example of like something that may happen in this case. So we'll switch back. Okay. Congrats on that. When I connect my Nano to the Ledger app, my private key is still offline, briefly connected to the internet. So your Nano, we just talked about, it's impossible. It will never share your private key. It will never share your recovery phrase. It's always offline. It is air gapped on this, even while plugged into the computer. So it's still offline. And that's it. All right, cool. Go next step. So this next step of the process, everything's set up. Man, that's actually, that was a really nice experience going through Ledger Live. I'm so used to just doing this on my own that it's been a while since I've gone through the process, and it's just really great what our developer team has been doing with this. So let's go ahead and do the genuine check. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to check our Nano. It's already set up, but we're going to allow Ledger Live to connect to our Nano. And what we're doing is we're letting Ledger Live check the firmware, which is the operating system of the Nano, and make sure it's genuine. Now, if there's any inconsistencies, if it's been tampered with in any way, if it's been compromised in any way, then this genuine check process will detect that because the code will be different, not what Ledger Live expects to see, and it will fail. So let's go, and so we won't even be able to get into Ledger Live. So we'll go here. We are going to allow Ledger Manager on our Nano. Okay, it's quick. It does not take long. The operating system for this thing is not very big. It's pretty somewhat simple device. Well, not simple in a lot of ways, but as far as the code that runs the device. So cool. So we are good to go. We're going to continue. Now we're in Ledger Live. So you'll see here that we have these different tabs. We got the portfolio tab, which will show all of our different total assets when we start adding accounts. We don't have any accounts yet, so we can add an account from here. However, we're not going to be, well, you can, but the very first step that you should do, you should always go to the My Ledger tab when you first set up your Nano. And I'll show you why here in a minute. I'm going to go to the My Ledger tab. Okay. So this will check your Nano for updates. You can see that the firmware is outdated on this Nano S Plus. It's fresh out of the box. This is very, very normal for a brand new device. We release firmware updates fairly regularly, 1 to 2 times per year. But if your device was manufactured prior to firmware update 1.1.0 being released, then you will be on this firmware version like this device, and you can just simply update it from here. We're not going to update the firmware on this device for this purpose, for this video, because we want to be able to show that in future videos, what the firmware update looks like with this orange banner at the top. But for your own personal device, to ensure that it continues to function properly and be able to communicate with Web3 and with your computer, you definitely want to get that firmware updated. If you are only one or two firmware updates behind, your device will probably still work pretty good, pretty okay for the most part. But eventually it will get to a point where it no longer functions properly. So you do want to have that update, that firmware updated. Okay, let's go ahead and install a Nano app. So let's bring your attention down here to this app catalog. You'll see you've got all of these Nano apps. You got Bitcoin, Ethereum, BNB, XRP, Cardano. These are all the different blockchains that are supported in Ledger Live. You can see there's a whole bunch of them, but not all of them are supported directly in Ledger Live. To back up, let me scroll back up real quick. Most of these ones at the top are, but then you get to this first one right here where you see it says Ledger Live supported. And then right here, Monero. Monero, there is a Monero app, but it requires a third-party wallet. We're going to talk about that here more in a minute. But for now, let's go ahead and install one of these Nano apps and talk about what they are. So these Nano apps, what they do is these are not really they're not really tied to your specific account in any way or your recovery phrase. You can actually install and uninstall these Nano apps as you want. Like let's say we install the Bitcoin app, and then we want to create a Bitcoin account. We have to install the app, which will give our Nano the information it needs to communicate with the Bitcoin blockchain and derive wallet addresses on the Bitcoin blockchain. But that's pretty much it. And also that's about it. And so let's say we were to add an account now. So now we are opening the Bitcoin app, which lets our Nano communicate with the Bitcoin blockchain. See, Bitcoin's ready. We're adding an account. It's synchronizing. Right now, it is deriving the public wallet address that can be derived from the recovery phrase, which is all happening inside the device. We're going to name this the plus. You see, it's still synchronizing. Bitcoin's a little bit different than a lot of other blockchains. There are 4 different options. You got native SegWit, Legacy, and Taproot for the 4 different Bitcoin accounts you can create. It defaults on native SegWit. Honestly, for pretty much any situation, you really only ever need a native SegWit account, at least for now. And they're all like cross compatible with each other, so like it's not a super big deal. But if you wanted to, if you're into more advanced stuff and you need a very specific type of Bitcoin account, you can definitely add that. You can see it takes a while to synchronize, so we're gonna halt that and just add this native SegWit. But you can go here and show the other address types. You can see it derived Taproot and it derived SegWit, and it was in the process of deriving Legacy when I stopped it. But had I let that continue a little bit longer, it would have had the Legacy account right here too. We're not going to add those ones. We're just going to add the native SegWit. Okay. So now that account's added, that account is in Ledger Live. We have a Bitcoin account right here. We can send funds to it if we want. Before I do that, though, I'm going to go back to the My Ledger tab. And I'm going to uninstall the Bitcoin app. So we'll go to the apps installed. You see we only have Bitcoin. I'm going to trash this. Uninstall. All right, so now you can see it removed it on the device, removed it from here. It's showing that we do not have Bitcoin installed. However, our Bitcoin account is still very much here. And if we had Bitcoin in it, that would still very much be there. It would very much exist. However, if we want to actually interact with this account in any way, let's say we want to receive Bitcoin into this account, well, now our Nano can't really talk to the Bitcoin blockchain anymore. It's going to throw an error message. It's going to make us, well, actually, no, it's gotten better. It's going to actually just auto install the Bitcoin app for us. Another huge shout out to our Ledger Live developer team that are constantly making this a better user experience for everybody. So then, yeah, it used to just throw an error message and then you actually had to go in and figure out what that error message was and then go in and install the app. But now it's just doing it for you. We're going to open up the Bitcoin app. And then now we can generate our receive address. Now our Nano can communicate with the Bitcoin blockchain once more to do what we want to do, to generate a receive address or to sign transactions or whatever it is we want to do. So you can see that I clicked that receive button and I generated the receive address for Bitcoin. So this is the public wallet address for our Bitcoin account, and it's a receive only address. You can see that it's popping up on the screen of the Nano right here, and you can actually go and verify, and you can approve or reject it. And then it's you can also copy it from this screen right here. So one thing to know about your Nano is it is always a source of truth. You definitely want to, whenever you receive crypto into your accounts, you always want to go through this process. You always want to generate your receive address, verify it on your Nano, and make sure there's no inconsistencies. Make sure you're not accidentally sending it to the wrong address. And the reason I bring that up, we're kind of running a little bit low on time, but the reason I bring that up is because there's a lot of social engineering tactics, a lot of scam tactics out there that try to trick users into, you know, giving up their crypto in any way possible. It's not just requesting your, although getting a user's 24-word recovery phrase is the ultimate way to steal crypto from the person, from a scammer's perspective, because that gives them access to all the accounts that can be derived from that recovery phrase. So let's say you have your Bitcoin account, you have your Ethereum account, you have your Doge account, you have your XRP account, you have your XLM account, you have all these different accounts, and all your different cryptos are all stored, you know, visualized in Ledger Live with all your accounts. All it takes is giving up your recovery phrase to one person, and they can also access all those accounts. It gives full access to any account that can be derived from that recovery phrase, which is any account you have in Ledger Live. So that is the ultimate way that scammers usually try to steal people's crypto. But there's also more simple ways that are in some ways more clever and highly effective. One of those ways is you might have heard me talk about it, or someone else. A bunch of agents have put out like videos talking about this, but it's a scam tactic called address poisoning. And what address poisoning is it takes advantage of a feature of the blockchain of specifically the Ethereum blockchain is where we see it most often, where it's possible to send a zero value transaction from any wallet. You don't have to have the private keys to send a zero value transaction from a wallet. You can't access the actual assets in there, but you can put a on-chain transaction that for a zero value amount. Now, we've already taken steps in Ledger Live to block suspicious zero value transactions, but the way it works is a scammer, or in this case, really a hacker, someone who's like got a lot of knowledge on coding and how this stuff works, is they can use sophisticated tools to generate wallet addresses that look very similar to ones that you routinely send to. Like let's say, for instance, you have 100 ETH in your account, and in your main account, and you're constantly sending ETH to your other accounts to fund them to do different things. Like you send ETH to your NFT account to buy NFT, you send ETH to your DeFi account to do DeFi stuff. Address poisoning may, someone who's doing address poisoning on that would generate a ETH wallet address that looks similar to an address that you constantly send funds to, and they'll do they'll poison your transaction history with a bunch of zero value transactions. And the hope is that a person will, instead of going through the correct process to generate the receive address and actually verify it, like, I send to this address all the time, I'm just going to copy from my transaction history. Yeah, that's the right address. It's got the same first 5 characters, same last 5 characters. Like, I'm confident. But then you really look at it, and maybe a few of those characters are different. And then at that point, you would willingly, if you use that address and sign that transaction, you just willingly sign that transaction to a wrong address. So you definitely want to always go through it. It won't happen in Ledger Live anymore as long as you're on the latest version. Like I said, we identified that, and it was extremely nefarious. And so we took action, and we blocked those transactions from showing up. And they are also flagged on Etherscan as well if you look at your account there. But it's just one thing to look out for, especially if you're operating outside of Ledger Live, connecting your Nano to other dApps and stuff. Yeah, just it's something to watch out for. Yeah, so man, heavy-winded today. Talked a lot. Let me go into the comments and see if there's any lingering questions that have not been answered yet. Huge shout out to our mod. I believe it's Ty that was in here answering questions. Thank you so much. Letting me sit here and talk while you answer all everyone's questions. But let's see what we got here. All right. Shu Shirakawa is asking, how can I store a Gala asset in my ledger? Thank you. Let's take a look. I'm pretty sure actually Gala is an ERC20 token. Shut down the Nano real quick. Let me go over here. I'm going to open up CoinGecko real quick, and I'm just going to look up Gala. I'm just going to take a look at it. Gala. Okay, cool. Yeah. Gala is an ERC20 token on the Ethereum network. I'm going to go ahead and copy the contract address, and I'm just going to verify that we do support this. Go here. Supported asset. Yeah. Yep. So Gala is a fully supported ERC20 token. So what you want to do is, let me reopen Ledger Live for you. Go back to, boom. So what you'd want to do is you would want to add your Ethereum account if you don't already have one. I'm really liking this flow in Ledger Live. It's going to auto install the Ethereum app. So if you actually, you know what, actually, let me see if I can cancel. I want to show you something real quick. All right, so if I type in Gala, you'll see that I've got Gala right here. And that would be the intuitive thing to do, is to try to search Gala. But really, all you need to do is add an Ethereum account. You don't actually have to add a Gala account. Because it's just an ERC20 token. And so if I were to even select this, we're really just adding an Ethereum account. And the UI is very much improved on this. So you'd want to add your Ethereum account. And yeah, so it's going to go ahead and install the Ethereum app and do that. And then you would go through the same process that I just went through with that Bitcoin account to generate your receive address. And you want to send your Gala just straight to your Ethereum address. And then it'll show up as a token in your account automatically. See what else we got. David Staub is asking the intermediary between Nano and Bank. Is it USD or USDC? I'm not sure I fully understand that question. It's kind of like two totally different things. USDC is just an ERC20 token on the Ethereum network. It's on, actually, it exists on almost all of the smart contract layer 1 networks at this point. But it's just a stable coin. It's just a coin like any other that's pegged to the US dollar, but it's not the same as the US dollar. I would say that the intermediary between like your Nano, your cold storage device, getting assets there, and your bank would be more the exchange. So you'd have to, like, a centralized exchange, which is kind of the bottleneck for getting crypto right now. Unless you know someone that's selling crypto privately, you actually have to go to the exchange, submit identity verification, create an account, link a bank account, or use wire transfers or whatever. You have to send US dollars to the exchange, purchase crypto, and then withdraw the crypto to your cold storage. So I don't know if that's fully like answers your question, but in my it looks like DEG9's asking, am I able to move XLM from Uphold onto my Nano X? Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So XLM is fully supported in Ledger Live. And I haven't actually personally used Uphold, but I've helped so many people that do use Uphold that I am very confident when I say that you can withdraw your XLM from Uphold into your Nano. So what you'd want to do is, you've got your XLM in your Uphold account, which is owned by Uphold. It's a centralized exchange. They own the keys to that. And so it's showing in your account, but technically it's still on their platform. So so you'd want to create an XLM account in Ledger Live, generate your receive address, and then withdraw your XLM from Uphold. I think they have pretty good customer support articles that show all the steps for withdrawing. But yeah, so if you need help with that. But as far as Ledger Live, you just generate your receive address, which I showed in the Bitcoin demonstration. Same thing for XLM. And one other thing to keep in mind, when withdrawing from an exchange to a private wallet, you do not need a memo tag. And this is specific to XLM, since you asked about XLM. When sending from a private wallet to an exchange, like say you, a year from now or whenever, you want to send your XLM from your Ledger account back to Uphold, Uphold will give you a memo tag. make sure that you use that memo tag in the transaction from Ledger Live to make sure it gets credited to your account on Uphold. It will not be necessary when withdrawing from Uphold. And so if Uphold does require you to put something in for a memo tag, which a lot of exchanges do, and Ledger Live will not generate a memo tag for you because it's not required, you can just simply put in 0 or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You can put in kind of whatever you want. It's kind of arbitrary at that point. But remember, when sending from Ledger back to the exchange, got to have that memo tag. Yeah, Ben the Yellow Lab. Yeah, we that's kind of on the marketing team. I think our last communication on our Ledger Stacks FAQ is we're shooting for the end of summer. I think that's the last official communication that's been put out, and that's pretty much all the information we have on that. I'm sorry, I can't give you more on that. But yep. Cool. Well, I think that pretty much ties it up, and we are just a few minutes over, right on time. Yeah, I really appreciate you guys coming out. I know for a lot of people, you like to just come here and just ask your questions, and that's totally cool. The main focus of this session on Fridays for the US team is to show the setup process for the Nano. Set new users can always pop in every Friday and see how to set up a device. But we do a full AMA session on Wednesdays, where the entire time we're just devoted to answering questions, and that's our primary focus. So if you're more interested in that sort of a session, then definitely pop in on Wednesdays at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time and ask your question there. And I hope that we were able to get to a lot of your guys' questions here. We know that a lot of people like to do that, so we definitely want to try to help out as much as possible. But yeah, I think that this is probably a good place to wrap it up for the day. I really appreciate you guys coming in. I really hope that we were able to help you guys with some of your issues. And yeah, stay safe out there and keep those private